this Youth Day, we juxtapose two fee-paying schools in Pretoria West that get the same subsidies. The one consistently performs well, while the other received one of the lowest matric pass rates last year for Gauteng. Our investigation showed that at the school that performed badly, some learners drink codeine cough syrup and smoke cannabis and cigarettes every day. With the explosion of violent and criminal incidents recently reported at some of our schools, we focus on how problems with discipline and the lack of parental supervision can lead to criminality. This is Pretoria Central High. Last year, the school attained one of the lowest matric passes in Gauteng. Just ahead of Youth Day, we paid a visit to the school. We saw this grade 10 learner surrounded by teachers and policemen. He had driven this car, which he said was his, from Hammanskraal to school without a license. When the police checked the plates against the license disc, they did not match. The principal said they notified the police to intervene. A couple of days later, we saw the learner driving this car with other learners in it. The third day we were at the school, the vehicle was parked outside the school's entrance. Teachers described him as being aggressive and said she was too afraid to confront him. Learners were loitering outside the school, gambling, drinking codeine and smoking marijuana and cigarettes. Merit Abdavid is a matric learner at Pretoria Central High. He has been at the school since grade 10.
I struggled a lot with my subjects because I won't lie, there were times when I was lazy. There were times when I didn't do that good. I realized, okay, no, if my life keeps going on in this manner, I will not make it anyway. Understand? So I decided, no, let me actually pull up my socks and start actually working much harder than I was before.
Last year, Merit repeated his grade 11 year.
I knew that if grade 11 marks are the ones which I used to actually apply for varsities and all that, I needed to improve that. I needed to make it much better so that I actually get accepted into universities. I was always a troublemaker since I was a kid, actually. There are a lot of things that I did that hurt her. But my mom is that kind of a person whom, no matter how much, she's like the hot water and then you pour cold water but she still stays warm. That's the kind of person she is. So that's what I love her for.
I asked him if there was a drug culture at his school.
When I first came to school in grade 10, there was a lot of drugs that were going around. So much drugs that even I think people gave up on the fact that no, we can't prevent the kids from taking it. But then as time went on, it went down because the influential people who used to influence people who were in the school left.
Why did he think last year's matric pass rate was so low?
The kids that were influenced and got in the wrong crowd, they failed. That's all I can say. What happened to them was that they chose a path that took them a downward spiral, as I said. There's no coming up once you start such things, and it's very tough to come out of it. I've seen many people, I've had friends who've been influenced by such things, and that influence has caused them to go the wrong way.
How have his peers responded to him not being from South Africa?
I remember my first day in grade 1 when I came to side. When I first entered, every child in the classroom looked at me like as if I was from another planet, like they've never seen me. And then the next day, especially when people are sitting around you and then they're talking about you, but you do not know what they say, and you overhear and then you hear something negative about you, it can really hurt you.
He says he became determined not to let people's insults prevent him from reaching his dreams.
There's one thing my mom once told me. She said that if you want to make it far in life, be like a horse. She says it has those things on the side, it can't see anything else, it's looking forward, so it can't see to the sides. So she said my good motives and my future should be like those things on a horse, which keep me from looking forward, you understand? So that I do not lose track of what's really happening in life, and I'll always make it forward.
He describes the support he gets from his parents.
My mom has been very supportive of me. She's been with me since day one. Even though I put it through hell, she still held on, and she's still there. She's still supporting me, whether it be through prayer, whether it be through advice, as much as she can. My dad is kind of like a Superman to me, because he's the breadwinner of the family. If he wasn't there, then there would be no school fees for me to be here, you know. And I actually love both my parents for who they've been.
He says things are looking better for this year's matriculants.
There's a big improvement this year. Last year, what they usually do in the school is they would call you if you've got above 80, you've got a bachelor's pass every term, they'll give you a badge. So last year, I don't think there wasn't that much of badges that went like this year. Because this year, I think almost the whole class would be called just to get a bachelor badge. Plus, there's not that much bad influence like there was last year. Because last year, there was bad influence that made people fail.
This former learner matriculated 2 years ago from Pretoria Central High with a bachelor's pass. He says gangs were a problem at the school, and he described a stabbing incident.
There was one big gang, everyone was afraid of that one. They got into a knife fight. One of the guys, the victim, got stabbed on the thigh. Ambulances needed to be called on the scene, stuff like that. And, put the police also. But then the guy was arrested.
He says he is sure gangs are still active in the school.
There are few students in uniform. They're in a group. They're gambling. They're smoking weed. They're drinking still pain mixed with cold drink.
According to him, the crime in the area has a negative influence on the school.
There's a lot of booze shops. There's a chemist. So that's where I can say that's where they're getting their pharmaceutical drugs. And, it's very easy to get marijuana from the school, in uniform. People do it from early in the morning up until late in the afternoon.
He explains how peer pressure affected him.
There was one term my marks dropped a lot because I was drinking more often or drinking as much as I wanted because I thought I was doing so well.
Despite his grade 10 year, he managed to turn things around. He says he attained an above average matric pass.
I'm studying fitting and machining at Swana South College, and it's going very well. I won't say I'm happy for going to the school, but finding a way out of there, that is something I'm proud of.
We asked the principal about the previous year's matric performance.
We take a collective responsibility that we drop the ball. Mainly when we do the analysis, there was an issue with business studies, which nationally it is acknowledged that there was something wrong there.
The pass rate at 62.7% was the lowest in the school's history. Did codeine abuse play a role?
The codeine issue gained prominence last year. A child would come with your ordinary Coke, you wouldn't know what is mixed with that Coke. You would think that it's just an ordinary cold drink that the child has brought to school. Up until we received a tip-off that this is actually what is happening. So what we decided to do was that we will not allow learners to bring any form of drink that is mixed from home.
Last year, he caught 4 boys at the school with codeine.
We recommended expulsion, and the HOD agreed in head office in this case that indeed the boys must be expelled from school.
He says the school security cameras are to monitor the activities of the learners.
There is no corner inside the school where they can hide to smoke, because every corner, be it in the playground or in the corridors, there are CCTV cameras. So if they come high, it's something that they would have done outside the school, not inside the school.
He says these learners, coupled with those brought up without father figures and with little parental involvement, tend to have problems with discipline.
By and large, if parents can be involved 100% in raising the children in conjunction with the school, half our problems would be gone.
He says they enforce discipline for late coming, except where transport authorities are to blame due to road and rail accidents.
By 8 o'clock, everyone should be ushered. I'm putting my head on the block and say, do that, you are not going to find that here. There won't be learners gambling here on the corridors. There won't be learners coming late here.
We took him up on his word and out of sight stationed ourselves outside the school gate at 7:30 on a Wednesday morning. At 8 a.m., the learners were still struggling into the school. By 8:20, their sense of urgency finally became apparent. Half an hour after the start of the school day, these learners were locked out of the school. Mrs. Kekana works for the Department of Education as head of Tshwane South District. Pretoria Central High falls under her. I asked her if it is a problem school.
Pretoria Central Secondary School is not a problem school. I think if you check why the results dropped, it was the issue of curriculum delivery. They had a very good deputy. We promoted him to become a principal at Pretoria Secondary School in town. And unfortunately, that has resulted in their results dropping.
She said Pretoria Central High is in a district that gets among the top results in Gauteng.
Any school that has performed below 65% is considered as being an underperforming school. Unfortunately, Pretoria Central got 62%. And we were working with them. Watch the space. They are going to perform at the end of this year.
She puts the problem with discipline at Pretoria Central High down to a lack of parental involvement, largely because learners live far from the school.
We have learners traveling as far as Hammanskraal, going to that school. And they use all sorts of mode of transport. Thus, the parental involvement is very low, because you'll find parents who might not be able to come and attend parents' meeting coming from Haranko, Hammanskraal. They are not serving the community where the school is. When they come to school, they use a train. And they can decide to go into the classroom or not. And the parents cannot see them. So drugs, yes, it's not a serious problem, but it's happening. There's not much that I can say as a department we can do, because the school is not selling drugs. These children are bringing drugs from home. The only thing that we do as a department, we can do the searches and seizures, call the police to come in and search them. And those that are found to be having drugs are punished.
Not far from Pretoria Central High is Pretoria West High School. The learners here come from similar backgrounds to Pretoria Central High, but most of them live in the surrounding areas and do not have to travel as far to get to the school. Sophie Baloyi has been at the school for 5 years. She has had to overcome major challenges to get to grade 11.
I repeated my grade 10 because I had to go for my birth giving, and I came back late when people had finished to write their exams. I had a baby in bedtime because I didn't know anything outside, didn't know anything about life. No one ever taught me about stuff like that. But I hope I've learned from my mistakes. I have to wake up in the morning. Sometimes it comes to that point that I write my exams. I cannot study because there's many things that I have to do. Chores, schoolwork, taking care of my baby.
She says she does not feel safe walking to school. Learners have to cross this large empty field just outside of the school.
I have an accident where I felt I don't want to come to school. I was scared. It was a time that we were followed by a white car. Yes, we noticed that when we almost arrived at school, but we never told anyone because we thought, it's a car passing by. It did the same thing after school. The next day, we never came to school.
She has a supportive network at school.
The friends that I have are very supportive. I just need someone who will listen to me and give me advice. That's what they know. I've never had a fight in school. I just talk to people. Some girls need advice. There's some children in our school who face the same issue that I faced. But I gave them the power to come to school because we had an incident that Elena was pregnant. Then she left, dropped out of school. She came back 2 years after to finish school.
She explains how her relationship with her mom and reaching out to people she trusts for help have given her strength to deal with difficulties.
What inspires me, I would say it's my mom, because she's God-fearing. Someone who's God-fearing can make you believe in things that you never believed in. After the time I was pregnant, I came to school. I was a bit nervous about what people say, what people do, how people react. But the courage that I got from teachers and some of the learners who knew what's happening, they never let me down. They're like, you're strong, you came to school.
What motivates other learners at the school to endure their difficulties?
I've always dreamed of being rich, so one thing I've realized that is you cannot get rich without school. I want to change my life for once and live a better life. So that's why I work hard in school and try and participate as good as I can. I get a good support system here at school and stuff like that. That's why I'm here where I am right now. Like at a second, I even thought of dropping out of school at some stage, but then they advised me not to.
Education to me is very important because it is the key to success. When I leave school, I would like to study medicine. I want to be a doctor because I'd like to help people. That's what I love. I like helping people, especially kids. At home, it's difficult to study because there's always movement, there's people moving around, people talking. And when you're trying to focus, people like your parents are calling you to do chores, like washing the dishes.
School is very important to me because it's a determining factor as to how our future is going to turn out. And you have to further your studies into higher institutions and education. But I want to specialize in cardiology and working with the heart and helping people.
The school received an 89.4% matric pass rate last year.
There were various reasons for that as well that I will not go into, but our aim is always, as always, is 100%. We have been struggling to get the 100% pass rate due to the change in the curriculum. This was the first year that we dropped below the 90%, and we are working very hard to ensure that it was the last time.
The deputy principal, Mr. Cedric Mokwane, is also the business economics teacher.
Currently, the issue is under investigation. As a teacher, I cannot give the valid reasons why the marks were so declined to the extent that they affected the results of the learners. Some, they are saying the formulas were the issue. Some were saying the SBA marks were issue.
Children without much parental input, particularly young men, often manifest with discipline problems.
They do not have that strong disciplinary figure at home that tells them this is how you behave, this is what you have to do, and so on. And a mother does sometimes find it very difficult to raise them. What we also find is many of these parents, they leave early morning because they have to work. Our kids go home here in the afternoon and they go home to an empty house. When there isn't that adult supervision at home, some of these learners, they do end up on street, and they are busy then with things that they shouldn't be busy with.
By immediately involving parents when discipline issues arise, a clear message is sent that misbehavior will not be tolerated.
The strong relationship that we have with our parents help our discipline. The strong discipline that we have in school as a staff helps with the overall discipline, because the learners know that we are always going to address an issue. Everyone has the same school rules that they follow, and it is always applied in the school.
But if you make sure that there are always activities where you keep learners working, keeping them busy doing something in class, then discipline is easily get maintained. And if it goes to an extent where the learner is not working, is not doing the work in class, parents are involved, principal is involved. Teaching is not about a learner and a teacher, it is also about the parent.
The principal says the secret to the school's success is multifaceted.
You can trust the staff because they will be professional. You can trust the staff because they will care for your kids. You can trust the school because they will provide your learner with a safe and secure environment. You can trust the school because they will look after your child. Every child here, for whoever he or she is, from grade 8 to grade 12, every child is important in our eyes. And I think we are determined. We don't give up.
Despite crime and violence in the surrounding areas, it seems that for learners who put in the work and have enough support, either at home or at school, the future is theirs.